production is proud to present Random by the
What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Thomas back again with another rendition of Truth Be Told. Now, there wasn't anything major going on in the news this past week, so we're just going to get right on into what we're going to discuss. I just literally got done watching the show called Bones, all seasons 1 through 12. I'm surprised it lasted that long, but it did. So it took me a while to get through them. Now, I've tried to watch this show a few times before, but I'd only get like 3 or 4 episodes, and then I just I couldn't do it. I like murder mysteries, and the simple fact that it was a murder mystery show, and the character of Agent Seeley Booth was the only reason I got through this entire series, honestly. You know, he's funny. It gave a little bit of comedy in it. But most of the characters I just did not like. He was about the only character I actually liked. There was a few others I was okay with, liked, but for the most part I didn't care for most of them. Almost all the female characters are in some way some typical form of a feminist, and feminism has been debunked. Everything about it has been shown to be lies, and it's an evil cult bent on death, power, control, and destruction. I don't like feminism. I don't want anything to do with it because it's all a big lie, and it treats women like shit. So worse than men, actually, if you actually get in depth into it. But anyways, regardless, I took some time to look up who created the show, a guy named Hart Hansen, and then I instantly knew why this show was like this. Hart Hansen is a hardcore male feminist writer, so naturally he tries to put a bunch of feminism crap in the show, which is bullshit. So that's why I almost couldn't stand the show. Couldn't stand watching it. If it wasn't for the fact that I like murder mysteries and the character of Agent Booth, I wouldn't have gotten through the show. Now, there's a couple little quirks you're going to find right off the bat. Several of the episodes, they try to sell you the car, the Prius. Like the character Bones will be driving her new car, and it's a fucking Prius. And she's all like, ooh, check out the new gadgets, blah, 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 what it can do, yada, 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 yada. The car sucks. Nobody likes it anyway, so it was retarded. They constantly tried to sell that car. The show. The second thing you're going to notice is right off the right off the bat, the character Booth calls the lab geeks squints, and he does this throughout the entire series. Basically, he calls them squints. He says because they squint their eyes when they're looking at stuff or observing shit. It's just dumb. It's the most retarded nickname I've ever heard for a lab geek. But yeah, you'll see that a lot. The second thing you'll notice is throughout the series, Angela and Hodgins is supposed to be like really in love and blah blah blah, but yet they just come off cold whenever they're on the screen together. Like, she's constantly having to kiss him on the cheek, kiss her on the cheek. They hardly ever touch each other. Very rarely do you see them hold hands or anything like that. They're not lovey-dovey at all. They keep apart from each other almost on every scene. It's very rare you see them trying to be lovey-dovey. Maybe at the beginning of the show, but after that, never again. You don't see them kiss each other or anything like that. It's really weird and standoffish. You're going to notice Dr. Brennan goes through a ton of interns. Most of them are all guys. There's like one or two females, but the rest are all guys. And for the most part, most of the guys are okay. The interns, they're all right. I really like the Dr. Wells character because he had a much better and higher IQ than Dr. Brennan, and he put her feministic ass in place all the time. I like that. She hated it because he was better than her. But she deserved it. The Dr. Brennan character thinks she's a know-it-all. She's a cold-ass bitch. That's why I almost couldn't watch I couldn't get into the show the first few times. I just couldn't stand that character. Super feminist bitch. But yeah, she was an arrogant, pompous ass. And later on in the series, they try to make it to where she shows a little emotion now and then. But the character Booth was constantly having to put her in her spot because she was doing fucked up shit all the time. She was just being a cold bitch. And that's typically a lot of your feminists act that way. Then you got the manipulative, emotional feminist who tries to pretend like she cares about you, but secretly she's being a bitch. That was Angela's character. I couldn't stand the Angela character. She was worse than the Dr. Brennan character. And she had Jack Hodgins constantly. I mean, she had that boy whipped, and he was a pussy. I couldn't stand the Jack Hodgins character. I was just terrible. He would literally bend down and do whatever the fuck she wanted. And she loved it. She lapped it up like a lap dog. Just fucking crazy. It was stupid. The only female character, there were only two female characters I actually liked on the show. I liked Daisy. Not at first. I thought she was annoying as fuck. She wouldn't shut up. But in the later seasons, she was alright. She seemed more responsible. And she acted like an actual lady. Whereas the other women were feminist bitches. All of them. Now Cam, they tried to make it like Angela was super beautiful and Brandon was really good looking too. They had all these guys at the very beginning of the show constantly hitting on him and shit. And they were not, seriously, they weren't good. They weren't ugly, but they sure the fuck wasn't that good looking. Now Cam, on the other hand, the character Cam, and her sister, oh my god, those two were, they were good looking. And Cam pulled off sexy, especially with them outfits. That woman was sexy. But anyways, like I said, the other character I liked was Caroline, the prosecutor. She was hilarious. She was like, you don't fuck with grandma type shit, She'll put you in your place. That's what she reminded me of. I liked her. Sweets was an okay character. Then they killed him off. Aubrey, he was all right. He was kind of goofball. They did have a black guy running the Smithsonian for like the first season and a half, and then they just got rid of him. They never explained what happened to him. He just disappeared. It was really weird. And then Cam took over. I don't know. It was strange. She didn't really take over the Smithsonian, just that department. Forensics. I don't know what happened to the black guy that was running the place. They just never did show him again. Ever. Now you had a couple of guest celebrities on there like Betty White and shit like that. You had they tried to do a couple crossover things, like the guy from the series called Finder, which only lasted one season because the show sucked. They tried to do a crossover with him, and then they tried to do a crossover with fucking the Sleepy Hollow people. I've never watched that show, but from what I understand, it's pretty dumb. None of that worked. Now the first season is basically about her parents missing. Something happened to him. She don't know what happened to him, so she's trying to find her missing parents. And then the second season is about her father. She starts tracking down her father. Angela and Hodge start this romance, and there's a serial killer at large that they gotta find. Season 3, they continue with the Hodge and Angela thing, and then they try to track down Angela's ex, which they all think is a god, and they all want to sleep with him. It's just dumb. They're still going over the whole daddy issue with their Brennan's father. They find this cannibal serial killer that they're after. Zach gets in trouble over all that shit and ends up having to go to a psych ward. They eventually, Angela and Hodge break up for a while, and she's being a bitch about it. She's being retarded because they still love each other and they know it, but she puts him off, starts dating William or whatever the fuck his name, the blonde dude, intern. Now during this whole time, for the first few seasons, both Booth and Brennan keep their distance, but they know, everyone knows that they're in love with each other, and everybody's just like, come on, just fucking get together and get it over with. Supposedly they catch the grave digger that was the serial killer they were after. Booth ends up with a brain tumor. Then the next season, you have this dumb ass fucking it's not surprising that Hart Hanson does this because it's dumb. That animal rights episode, it's just, they actually do two of them, and they're fucking both retarded because it's all a bunch of bullshit. There's this whole thing with the kid between Angela and Hodge, and she tries to make it to where she don't want anything to do with him because of it. Yeah, but then she turns around and dumps Wendell, that's his name, Wendell, not Williams. Dumps Wendell and gets back with Hodge because it's Hodge's baby. Vincent gets killed. That's one of the interns. Annoying fat blabber. They get rid of him. Booth catches the sniper that killed him. And then they get to about season 7. They finally get together. Booth and Brennan finally gets to get that season. It took him forever to put them together. It's just fucking retarded because everybody knew they were in love. They run into another serial killer. Again, by season 8, they have another animal rights episode, which was, again, dumber than shit. It was weird at first for Aristu and Cam to get together, but they eventually get together. Daisy and Sweets, they've been together for a while. They break up, which didn't make any sense whatsoever why they broke them up. They find out that the serial killer, they call the ghost killer, shows up because of another serial killer that they're after called Palant. He's a genius level serial killer who's stalking them. So now they got 2 serial killers that they're after. They think there's an FBI conspiracy, and eventually Sweets gets killed and Daisy ends up having his baby. By season 10, they've caught both the ghost killer and Palant. He gets killed. They're all trying to deal with Sweet's death. Booth does this whole thing where he has a gambling addiction, and they're trying to figure that out. Him and Brennan have a baby named Christine. It's a little girl. And they eventually wind up having another one called Hank. Now, Angela wants more children. Hodges doesn't. Cam and Aristu end up breaking up, but they eventually get back together and get married before the show's over. The redhead Jesse and Aubrey, they start seeing each other. Eventually Hodges, he gets hit by a bomb and it takes out his legs. He gets paralyzed. They have to deal with all that shit. Now they do this whole episode by season 11 about male activists. And literally everything they say about the male activists is literally what the feminists do. Feminist activists do. It's all a bunch of bullshit. It's literally all about feminists. Because that's what they do. But they made it all to where it's the male activists do this shit and they're crazy and blah blah blah. No, that's feminist shit right there. Everything that they claim male activists do, that's feminist shit. 100%. So that episode was an absolute joke. It's retarded. And they call them meninists. And I'm just like, what the? They're not called meninists. You're a fucking idiot. Hart Hansen is stupid, dumbass writer. Anyways, by the end of this series, they kill off Max, her father. Like I said, Aristu and Cam get married. Zach is finally freed. They find out he didn't kill anybody, and they free him from prison, or he's put in a mental ward or whatever. They free him from that. Okay, so in the last couple of seasons, Booth is going after this guy that he was a kid when he was a sniper and he shot his father. And this guy, in the last couple of seasons, he's grown up now, and he's after Booth and his family. Eventually, they catch him. Actually, he kills him, but all ends well that was well. Now, would I recommend this show? It's okay. If you can get past all the feminism nonsense and just focus on the murder mystery and the character Booth, you'll be alright. I give it a thumbs up and thumbs down. It's okay. To a point. If they would have gotten rid of all the feminism, they would have had a different character than Dr. Brennan as the main character. The show would have been 10 times better. One thing I do want to mention is they have a particular intern. He's kind of like a cowboy kind of thing. But him and Cam's daughter end up dating for a little while, and then she drops him like a bad habit because she wants to date somebody else that's going to the university she's at, even though this cowboy guy, he would have done anything for her. Again, another feminist type of shit. Was retarded. For some reason, they never explain what happened to him either. Just like the black guy who supposedly is running the Smithsonian. You never see him again. Same thing with this kid. You never see him again. Just disappears with no explanation. They do this several times. To be honest, my favorite intern was Dr. Fisher. The dude's hilarious. You know, all the time, you know, he's always depressed and shit, you know. The guy was hilarious. I loved that character. He was the best out of the interns, I think, besides Dr. Wells. But anyways, it was an alright show. You gotta be hardcore in the murder mystery, because I'm telling you right now, if you can't stand feminism, you're not gonna like this show, because it's full of it. Anyways, let's get on to your B-movie reviews. What's up, Movieaholics? So this week is Comedy Week.
Big Louise on somebody. Fresh in the game, putting it down. Everybody jump, make the club get crunk. If you wanna Southside represent, throw it up. Everybody jump, make the club get crunk. If you wanna Northside represent, throw it up. Everybody jump, make the club get crunk. If you on the West Side represent, throw it up. Everybody jump, make the club get crunk. If you on the East Side represent, throw it up.
Got 280 flicks. This first one, you know, starred John Cusack and Diane Franklin. And I'd never seen this movie. I was surprised I hadn't seen this. It's a movie called Better Off Dead. It was done in 1985 and made about 10 million worldwide. So that wasn't too bad for a comedy back then. Basically, the story is, you know, it's kind of a typical teen movie. Even though they weren't teens, the stars were not teens, they were probably in their 20s. They're always in their 20s, and they claim it's a teen movie. But anyways, John Cusack is in love with this Richie blonde girl who dumps him for an older, bigger, blonde ski instructor who thinks he's all that because he went down a really difficult ski slope and made the fastest time on that ski slope. So throughout the movie, John Cusack's character is having to deal with his girlfriend being with some other dude and being dumped, whining like a bitch. And Booger from Revenge of the Nerds is in this. He's kind of his best buddy or whatever. Tries to help him get through it. While all this is going on, there's a foreign exchange student, a French girl, who moves into the house across the street. This is down in Franklin. Her character, you know, she's stuck with this crazy ass mom and her big fat ass son, who she brought her over to have a romantic relationship with her fat ass son. And instead, she likes John Cusack, and eventually meets him and falls in love with him, and they fall in love together, and blah 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 blah. And towards the end of the movie, he actually has to race the big blonde punk bully ski instructor, and he wins, and everyone's happily ever after, and he gets with the French girl, and that's the end of the movie. Typical teenager 80s type flick. Really good movie. Unfortunately, it never, in reality, it never happens that way, ever. That's not how it goes. 90% of the time, I guarantee you ask anyone, the bully always won. Always. The bully always got the really good looking girl. You know what I'm saying? It just, that's the way it always went. The jock always got the really good looking girl. Always. In reality. So it was it a good movie? Yeah. Yeah, it was actually, it had some fairly funny parts in it. Decent flick, great acting. I highly recommend it. Check it out. Better Off Dead. Good flick. Alright, moving on. Now, everyone has heard of this one. Even if you have not watched it. I never bothered watching this movie. Just because I thought it was a super chick movie. And it is. It's definitely a chick movie. The movie's called Pretty in Pink. And it was done in 1986. And it made about 40 million worldwide. That's, I'll tell you, is a super chick flick. That's why it did so damn good. Now this starred Andrew McCarthy and Molly Ringwald. Okay. John Hughes and Molly Ringwald had to have something going on. There's just no way around it. Literally, she had to be, you know, porking that motherfucker to get starring roles, because he would give her a starring roles in tons of his movies. Because she literally was not that great an actress, honestly. She wasn't that good of an actress. And I'm not saying she was ugly. She was kind of like on the cutesy side, but she was not that good looking at all. She was cute, and that was all. She was kind of cute, and that was it back then. But she was not that good looking. But in all his movies, he tried to put her like she was the hot girl in the high school. And no, sorry, I don't think so. But anyways, this movie is about, you know, you have one rich kid who ends up liking Molly Ringwald, who comes from a poor neighborhood. But like everybody, all her friends in the poor neighborhood think she's great, she's awesome. So he ends up liking her, and she ends up liking him, and they get together, but then they find out that the worlds are totally different. He's from a up and up world, and she's not. She's from the poor side, or you know, the hood world. And I don't know, they eventually, you know, something happens to where they split apart, and then they eventually, at the end of the movie, they get back together again, and they try to make it work. Now, this is again another typical teen movie. This more on the female version side, which never ever happens. Well, I can't say it never happens in reality, because 9 times out of 10, the girl side, the girl in reality it might actually happen for the girl than the guy, just because 90% of the time guys eventually just you know, they'll go for the girl regardless. It's just that way. The girls have more of a chance of getting the guy they want than the guy getting a chance of getting the girl they want. That's just reality. Anyways, the character Ducky, this is most typical of a lot of guys. You know, he always gets put in the friend zone. A lot of guys do get put in the friend zone, and the girl is dumb and ignorant because she has a guy right there who's not. He may not be like super handsome and super good looking, but he's a decent looking dude, and he would do anything for her. Like, he treats her like gold. But the girl always shits on this guy. Always. You know, fucks him over every time for the jock or the really good looking muscular dude. It always happens. And then they wonder why, once they shit on them, why the guy really doesn't want anything to do with them. But the movie was a typical teen movie. 90% of the time. In reality, it's not going to happen that way again. Was it a good movie? Yeah. It was okay. I'm just not a fan of Molly Ringwald. I never will be. Now, Annie Potts is in this movie. And Annie Potts was a hot-ass bitch back then. Straight up, she was hot. I don't care what you say. Annie Potts. Ugh. Would have loved to have met someone like Annie Potts back in the day. Oh my gosh. Drop dead gorgeous. Anyways. Not a great movie, but it was okay for what it was. I give it a thumbs up, thumbs down. You really have to be seriously hardcore romance comedy type to watch this movie, because it was a straight up chick flick. At least it had a little comedy in it. It wasn't completely over the top. But it was okay. Check it out if you want. Anyways, that's all I have for you this week for your B movies. If you have anything or any thoughts about what I talked about earlier in the video about the Bone series, let me know your thoughts down in the comments section down below. If you could think of any B-rated flick or underrated movie that I may never have heard of or seen, or you think I might not have seen, please leave your suggestions down in the comments section down below, and I will get to reviewing it as soon as I can. So until next time, I told you you'd be told the truth, and you just been told.